She didn't hold back after the home loss. The truth about the locker room is finally coming out. Now whispers are turning into headlines. Is Stephanie White really on the verge of getting replaced?
Tried to say, since the beginning of the season, since the draft, when everybody lost their minds because we sat back and watched the Indiana Fever draft a point guard, when we got the best point guard in the league, you wasted a first-round pick on a draft pick on a point guard instead of getting a big and getting some.
That clip is from a show that aired before the season even started. The message was clear. You can't beat the top teams with only a strong backcourt and no real support behind it. On Thursday night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, that warning became reality. Indiana lost 108-101 on Caitlin Clark's signature shoe night. And the problems behind it go back to last winter.
What are you going to do when you get to teams that are longer, have more length? Where was our free agent signings? Our real free agent signings. Ty Harris, come on. You drafted Raven Johnson. I like Raven Johnson, actually. But I'm not sure last night, no help to the squad whatsoever.
So here's what the front office did in the offseason. They focused heavily on guards again. Their main free agent signing was T.E.A. Cooper, a solid player but not a game changer. They also used draft picks on rookies like Raven Johnson and Michaela Timpson, but neither is getting much playing time. What they didn't add was size or strength. No real rim protection and no versatile forward who can defend inside against physical teams. In the end, the roster was built to be top-heavy on purpose.
It's very possible that the season was written in the off-season. And whose responsibility is that? Kelly Kroskoff, Amber Cox, Stephanie White. It feels like this team was built based on people that was part of the club instead of bringing in the best talent for this.
And these aren't random or unknown decisions. The people in charge of building this team are President of Basketball Operations Kelly Kroskoff, General Manager Amber Cox, and head coach Stephanie White, who was hired before the 2025 season. Fans have been very direct with their criticism. This roster seems built more on familiarity, bringing in coaches and players from the same background, rather than focusing on the best possible fit around a generational talent. When you prioritize continuity over fit, the problems don't show up in May. They show up in June, when you face real contenders.
Last night was a perfect example that you can't just rely on a big three. Not against really good teams, you can't. You allowed Angel Reese to come into your house on signature shoe night, and by you allowed, I'm talking to Stephanie White. You allowed Angel Reese to go bananas on you.
Now here's what makes this loss really frustrating. The Stars actually showed up. Caitlin Clark scored 26 points on 8 of 17 shooting with 7 assists, debuting her new Nike Caitlin ones. Kelsey Mitchell also had 26 points and hit the 700th three-pointer of her career, making her just the 8th player in WNBA history to reach that mark. Aaliyah Boston added 23 points as well. That's your main trio producing at a high level. But Atlanta's Angel Reese responded right back with 21 points and 11 rebounds on 8 of 14 shooting, her 10th double-double of the season, plus a late-in one that sealed the game. So when your top three combine for 75 points and you still lose at home, the issue clearly isn't the top of your roster.
Out of her. Let's be real. You got Stephanie White not taking responsibility for last night. She's the defensive guru. If they give up 108 points, guess who I'm blaming 100 times?
So where did it go wrong? The same place it has all season. The defensive end. Atlanta shot 54% from the field. All 5 starters finished in double figures. Jordan Canada had 18. Naz Hillmon and Alicia Gray added 17 each, and Ryan Howard scored 16. They also outscored Indiana 17-8 in transition. Stephanie White was brought in partly for her defensive identity, so giving up 108 points at home goes directly against that vision. It also points to a bigger issue. With this loss, the Fever tied an unwanted WNBA record. Most games in a season lost while scoring 100 or more points. It's already happened 3 times in just 15 games. You can score all you want, but if you can't get stops when it matters, you're going to keep losing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we let him get to the rim too easily. You know, that was pretty much the story of when we had our defensive failings. It was our one-on-one D. We tried to wait until they caught the ball to defend. We didn't make it difficult for them to pass the ball around the perimeter, and they're fast. When they catch it on the run and attack our feet, we're already behind. You know, and there were some times where we didn't have rotations. I thought they did an excellent job in terms of their spacing to make our rotation.
And you don't even have to rely on my take for this. Listen to the coach herself. In that clip, she clearly explains it. They were getting beaten one-on-one. They were late on rotations. And a quick, well-spaced team made them pay for it. That's a fair and honest assessment. She's not avoiding the truth. But it also raises a simple question. If a defensive-minded coach can see exactly what's going wrong, why does it keep happening? The team's official explanation has been that they just haven't had enough time to fully install different defensive schemes while players adjust. That makes sense early in the season, but it becomes much harder to accept in mid-June, after 15 games, when the same defensive issues keep getting exposed by every strong opponent on the schedule.
Got to be able to guard one-on-one, and more than anything, like, we got to defend without fouling. I mean, we cannot continue to let people live, you know, in the 20s and 30s. And
there's another layer to this, and it comes down to in-game decisions. The focus was on fouling too much and sending opponents to the free throw line. That connects directly to the biggest moment of the night. Caitlin Clark picked up a fifth foul with 8:41 left in the fourth quarter. A few of those calls were questionable. She went to the bench while Indiana was still in the game, then returned at 3:28 with the score close. But she didn't take a single shot after coming back. She ended the most important quarter of the game scoreless. On top of that, the challenge management made things worse. Earlier, Stephanie White chose not to challenge a questionable foul on Clark late in the first half, then later used her challenge on a different play and lost it.so when Clark picked up that fifth foul. There was no challenge left to use, and Indiana had to live with the consequences.
Let's get the fallout from the fans, because, yeah. I mean, that 643 likes to 338 comments. By the way, something that was being talked about behind the scenes by a number of us was the fact that, have you noticed how few views in Indiana Fever social media is getting these days? They are getting views on posts.
Which brings us to the people paying the emotional price for all of this. The fans. If you scroll the comments under any Fever post right now, the tone is clay. The most liked reactions aren't about the opponent in Atlanta. They are about the coaching staff and the bench. Messages like "fire the coaching staff" and "same system over and over" keep showing up. The show also points out something else worth watching. Engagement on the team's social media seems to have cooled off. The numbers look more like what you'd expect in a quiet December, not during a high-profile June matchup week. That's their observation, not a proven fact, but the concern behind it is real. In 2024, this was the most watched team in the league and a major driver of attention across the sport. The real risk for a franchise like this was never just anger. Angry fans still care enough to react. The bigger danger is when they stop caring enough to be angry at all.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the players, have got to get angry. They have to get angry at their own coach at some point. They do. You know, is this coach putting you in the position to win ball games? It's going to get harder. It's going to get harder and harder and harder.
And it doesn't get any easier from here. The team that just beat them, Atlanta, is now 10-4, with 6 of those wins coming on the road. This isn't a fluke team. It's a real contender, and the schedule only gets tougher. We've already seen the floor of this matchup earlier in the season. With Caitlin Clark off the court, this group only scored 58 points in a loss to the same Atlanta team, one of their worst defensive performances of the year. That's the gap we're talking about, and the comparison is hard to ignore. Natasha Howard, the exact type of veteran, two-way frontcourt player Indiana didn't add, is averaging about 16 points and 8 rebounds in her 13th season for the first-place Minnesota Lynx. That missing piece isn't theoretical. It's a very specific roster gap, and it shows up against the exact kind of teams Indiana needs to beat in October.
Yeah. Am I? No, I'm not. I'm not. to not an entertaining brand of basketball. We're a long way from 2024.
So let's close where the show ended. A long way from 2024. That line hits because it's true. 2 years ago, this Fever team was a full-blown phenomenon. Sold-out road arenas, record TV ratings, and a rookie changing the reach of the sport in real time. The story was all momentum. In 2026, sitting at 9-6 after a home loss like this, the story feels very different. It's frustration. The talent is arguably better now, but the results feel worse. That gap between what's on the floor and what shows up in the standings is what everyone is talking about. This game just sharpened one question every Fever fan is now asking out loud. Is this a roster problem or a coaching problem? Because it can't be neither. And it probably isn't equally both. First, the roster case. The front office spent the offseason reinforcing a backcourt that was already strong, while ignoring a frontcourt that was already a weakness. The main addition was T.A. Cooper. Rookies like Raven Johnson and Michaela Timpson haven't really cracked the rotation. No real size was added. No rim protection. No reliable answer for physical, well-spaced teams. And the internal excuse that the system just needs more time has an expiration date, and it feels like they are past it. When you build a top-heavy roster and still can't get stops, part of that responsibility falls on the people who assembled it. So which is it? Tell me in the comments, and be specific.